Our work is really intentional around thinking about how we build, lead, and invest in partnership with Black wealth solution providers to change economic outcomes in the American South. I was thankful to be able to work and partner with Tanae Traylor, who is the co-founder of Kindred Futures, when we were in philanthropy, because we got a very clear charge from our partners and grantees to say we needed an organization that was unapologetically focused on tackling the racial wealth divide.
The initial vision of the Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative, now Kindred Futures, was to be responsive to a community of practitioners and community leaders and public leaders that were calling for a hub of information, support, collective thinking around the future of building Black prosperity, Black wealth collectively in Atlanta and more broadly across the South.
Our work is really intentional around thinking about how we build, lead, and invest in partnership with Black wealth solution providers to change economic outcomes in the American South. And the organization has punched well above its weight. We have been able to bring, in Atlanta alone, over 80 million into the small business ecosystem. That is an incredible leverage number. Our policy and research is second to none. I'm so proud that we released our inaugural Beloved Economy report, and that report has really given us new language, new frame around how we think about Black wealth. And we're seeing recommendations from the Beloved Economy report, from the Standing on Business brief, around how do we support legacy businesses. We have a dynamic ecosystem of partners, over 40 partners that have signed on to be part of our Black Community Wealth Network to think about how do we really invest in community wealth building strategies across the South. And we have over 30 strategic partnership agreements with business serving organizations supporting Black businesses across the South. We have now been able to touch up to 15,000 Black businesses across the state. So when I think about this organization that started as an idea driven by a charge by our community, and we can say these are our receipts. I'm so excited that we get to take this mission to other places, other people in the American South.
Tanae and Janelle, who were the co-founders of AWBI, were honestly our first funders in the business. That is the reason that we have a lot of the systems that we have in place today, and that's the reason that we were able to grow our team in the way that we did, is because, she runs a tight ship. In that guidance alone, I feel like was super impactful. And then Tanae wrote the check that allowed us to literally be able to give ourselves salaries. And so had it not been for that, I'm not sure the organization would look the way it does today.
AWBI was focused on Atlanta. Kindred Futures is rooted in the South.
The South is a place of legacy. It's a place, both good and bad. It's a place of family, community, and culture. It's a place that has been resilient, has put out some of the most innovative strategy around innovation itself. I think for me, the South, it's my home. When folks ask me, one of the things I lead about myself is that I'm a child of the South. And I have this love-hate relationship with this region because of some of the insidious structural racism that exists here. But I also come from a legacy of people that have fought to make sure that those structural barriers are broken, and that we have the opportunity to rebuild and recreate what the South needs to be for all of its people. It's the place where we could fight for our liberation and be very clear about why that's so important to us and what that means for not only our ancestors, but for our current generation and for the future generation.
There's a common thread amongst the experiences of Black people in the South, and that's really what we're trying to get at, is impact that experience across the region as well.
as the saying goes, as the South goes, so does the nation. I think when we look at inequality and systemic racism is pervasive across the country, but certainly some of the most entrenched inequality and some of the highest levels of poverty and severe economic insecurity sit here in the Southeast, with the harshest impacts on Black communities.
We are overdue for a season to say we need to invest in Black people in not just the American South, in the global South, in a way where they can see their freedom fully materialized. And I think that requires us solutions, not just one cut and paste strategy.
I think there's a misconception that because we focus on race and we are focused on building wealth in the Black community, then that means that we are anti everybody else and everything else. And that, I just want to emphasize that this is not a zero sum game. That, just because we are focused on making sure Black folks have access to opportunities doesn't mean that we don't want others to also have opportunities. And we also believe that the strategies that we are advancing that help improve outcomes in our community are likely strategies that will also work for other communities. And so join us in this fight, because if we can do it in the Black community, we can likely do it for other communities around the nation.
Wealth to me means freedom. It means liberation. It means the freedom to participate fully in our democracy, the freedom to go to work and receive, livable wages and support a family, to go see a doctor if you feel like you need to go see a doctor. Wealth means freedom to me.
So wealth to me is a feeling, right? It's more about being able to move about in our communities, in our society, and being valued. Right? I have 4 children and I worry about them each and every day. Their ability to move throughout community, to move throughout this world and feel free, right? And I want that for myself, I want that for my family, I want that for my community. And it's not boiled down to what I have in my bank account. It will never be, because it's so much more than that.
Just the start around changing our name to something that did not include Atlanta, was not Atlanta specific, was a huge moment. And the fact that we got a tremendous amount of buy-in from all of our board members and everyone participating, that was the right thing to do, was a really monumental step in building this new identity, this new vision for the organization.
I think it's important for folks to get and know who you are from the beginning. A name means something. But a name means something when you think about the aspiration that you're trying to put into the world, thinking beyond what you know and dreaming beyond what you think could be possible. And Kindred Futures is about disrupting the idea of individualism when it comes to prosperity. It is about doing it together in a way that is both loving, disruptive, and results driven, thinking beyond anything, dreaming, being able to reimagine what we can be as a community and as a people.
I say Kindred Futures so much as though it has always been in my subconscious. 12 months ago, I would have never imagined this would be the name. It's amazing. But it's also this magical moment of love, like when you know, you know. When it hits, it hits. And Kindred Futures hits in such a way. I remember on the phone with Tani, our co-founder, and we said Kindred Futures, and we just like simultaneously exhaled. It was this silent, like, this was it. And this again was a very iterative, community-informed process.
I feel like the brand identity is hopeful. It feels like home. It feels cool. It feels fresh. It feels vibrant. And I'm so excited for everyone else to see it outside, externally, because finally it feels like this work. It feels like the team. It feels like the spaces that we're in. It feels aspirational, but it also feels very, very sophisticated.
On the one hand, you look at the logo and you see a tree, with roots, representing the roots, kind of where we started, where all of these different movements around social justice and equitable treatment, really, kind of, germinated and evolved. And then the growth in terms of the branches of kind of where we're going now. But then it also, to me, represents, kind of hands, reaching up. And to me, that's where the whole discussion around the future comes in, and the leaves really look like stars. And so if you think about, what's the future for the organization, here we are, we're rooted, we're planted, in this history, in this work, in all of the efforts that our forefathers and foremothers have, gone through to bring us to this point. And we continue to reach upward and outward towards, these great and fantastic aspirational goals that we're trying to achieve to uplift our people.
What I hope the community takes away from this new brand identity is that this is for them, and that this is because of them, and they're a part of this. What I hope that they understand and that they feel when they experience this new brand, this is not us and them, we are Kindred Futures.
The long-term goals for Kindred Futures is very, very clear for us. We have what we consider a population level result. That means, what's our North Star? We know that there are 2 million Black people in the American South that have zero or negative net worth. We want to see that number eliminated. That is the goal. And we'll be working and assessing how are we reducing that number. And the we is not just Kindred Futures. Let's be clear. It's a collective network of partners that across multiple sectors that will be focused on that. How are we going to get there? We have a promise statement. So a promise statement is to partner with Black wealth solution providers across multiple sectors so that we can support these 2 million Black people in the American South.
Our work actually will continue to evolve. I think there's such alignment to the name Kindred. When you think about it, as a noun, it means family. It's your tribe, but as an adjective, it's actually around ideology and meaning, right? And Kindred is so aligned to our focus of our work, which is on the collective. We always we wake up every day thinking about how do we create economies that everyone can participate in, right? But we do that through the lens of what we call community wealth building. So this is this idea of shared ownership and building collective wealth. And so you do that through kin, through family, through community. And so our work will continue to evolve in that space and grow not just here in Georgia, but in partnerships throughout the South.
I'm just truly and genuinely grateful that Kindred Futures is stepping up.
When I think about our future, I see Kindred showing up all across the Southern region, but in true partnership with people who are already in the community and just amplifying and supporting their work.
The future of the organization, and I'm going to be coming from a communication standpoint because I see so many areas where we could grow out in. For me, it looks like a community-based organization that's not just serving community, but where the community becomes ambassadors for us, because we're doing this work because of them, but we're doing this work with them. It also feels like a space where everyone knows our name. It also feels like a space where we're change makers for the community. It also feels like a space where we're not only thought leaders, but we are at the table for every vital conversation.
This transition and evolution to Kindred Futures allows the board to also evolve and become much more of a governing board, a governing body. And so what we do is provide guidance, and insight. We also are responsible for supporting fundraising efforts. And I think the board's role is to ensure that the organization will continue to be financially solvent and that it has all the resources it needs to advance these great ideas and these great strategies that we're putting forth.
My biggest desire for this work is that you hold true to the things that you have built this institution on. Hold true to your values. There are going to be long nights when that's all you're going to have, and I want you to know we will weather that storm together.
I think that's really the direction where we're headed towards in regards to Kindred Futures, and that we're going to go out there and we're going to bring all of this knowledge, all of this experience, all of this exposure and connection to people doing fantastic things and fantastic work, really trying to change and transform, the lives of people, through, community ownership and employee shared models and, figuring out different pathways to increase your savings and your personal wealth and your contributions and just open up all types of opportunities. That's the real value, that I see. And I think that's going to be the ongoing and lasting legacy of our organization.
We invite you to contribute, connect, and champion our efforts to promote shared prosperity. Check us out at kindredfutures.org.